Okay. So Karen and I were messaging over the weekend, and I think she posted something in the Tom Ferry groups about Tom's post on like the 15 video ideas. And what we want to do is like a mastermind where you walk away with actual ideas for scripts or outlines for scripts to actually shoot these videos, right? So we had taken a look at the 15 videos, and what we had identified were, I think, about 5 that we thought were a good starting point, because sitting in an hour mastermind to come up with 15 video scripts probably isn't something that's going to happen, right? So we had identified 5, and they were basically how to prepare your home to sell for top dollar, downsizing in your city, things you should know, moving to a new city, local insights or things that you should think about, buying an investment property in your city, and the 30 questions about real estate in 30 days. So just a little bit of brainstorming on that. So what we wanted to do was spend about 10 minutes on each topic and kind of go over each one of those topics. And as I said, kind of brainstorm, come up with ideas, throw things out there. And again, this is meant to be interactive. Karen and I don't like listening to ourselves speak, so we would love input and thoughts that everyone has. As we go through. Again, if you guys haven't done it, click the little 3 dots in the top right-hand corner of your photo and drop in where you are from. If you all are available and presentable, turn on your cameras. If you guys are getting ready or something like that, no need. And yeah, so I guess, Karen, do you want to kick it off kind of on what people should be thinking about as they get started with video?
Yes. Okay. So thank you, Katie. Yeah. Katie and I hate listening to ourselves speak. We already did this before the sun barely came up today. So we want to make this interactive. We don't necessarily expect everybody to talk, but if you have any brainstorming ideas, examples that you've seen, drop them into the chat, and we will, Katie's going to somehow record it and then send out notes, right? So she's a little bit more tech savvy than me. So I think I want to just take a step back when it comes to video. Tom has been talking about doing video for so long, as you know, so much so that I think many people have decided, I'm going to hire a videographer. I'm going to hire somebody to write them for me. Or, many of us are just like, I don't really know what to say. I don't like how I look. But we've all kind of realized, like, we kind of have to get over it, because this is how we look. Like, this is how I look before I get out and go into the great world of Park City. So what we wanted to do was give a very basic background and brainstorming outline of how to write some of these scripts. So let's not forget that most of these things have been written before. You Google, how do I mistakes to avoid when selling, you will find blog after blog after blog. I go on Google, I use Pinterest, and I find literally the exact answer that I need. Your responsibility is obviously to rewrite them in your language, find those bullet points, figure out how you're most comfortable speaking, whether it's with a script or with just bullet points. But what Tom has basically given us is literally the thumbnail, right? Like the thumbnail, all of this YouTube juicy goodness that we need, which we can get into at a later time. But basically there's 4 simple steps to a video. Okay. You've got the hook at the very beginning. Tom does it all the time. Want to know about your Monday mindset? Click here or keep following, right? Then he's got a bumper of something about him and in his town or whatever. And then there's 3 points. And then he's got the close, the call to action, right? Is shaking a ton. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So that's basically how we kind of craft videos. Does anybody have any questions about that? No. Okay. So let's start. Basically what we want to do here is we want to go to each question. So let's start with maybe video idea number 3, how to prepare your home for sale. Home to sell for top dollar. Now, I Googled this, I found a site, and I found a few simple tips. Okay. Why don't we spend a little bit of time brainstorming what a good hook would be for this? Does anybody have any ideas? feel free to share. I see a lot of you who have done videos on here, so we might have to call out some people.
How about want top dollar for your home?
Want top dollar for your home? That's
Perfect.
great.
How about
Or
make
how
more than
about
your
something-
neighbor when selling?
Go ahead, Tom, say that again.
How about make more money on your house than your neighbor did when selling?
Okay. I'm writing notes. Katie, are you writing notes?
Yeah, I can type notes because I've got a keyboard.
Okay.
And your computer shakes when you type on it. So
Okay, sorry.
you just focus on talking and I'll focus on typing.
Okay.
And we can switch if
So
we need
the-
to.
Don't
Go ahead.
leave money on the table.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how we got top dollars for your neighbor.
How about if we quantify it, right? Like I was able to pull 5 tips. So 5 easy ways. Has anybody found a difference if you've been doing video for a while? Have you ever tested it out? Like, you know, if I put a number there, then people know what to expect.
So question, is our hook the same thing as the title of the video? Is the
Not
hook the
necessarily.
thing that's going to show first?
Not
I think so.
necessarily.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think sometimes the hook is more of a question than the title of the video. So if like the title is, you know, top 5 tips to make the most money when selling, it but be shorter than that, right? Then you'd be like, do you want top dollar for your home? Do you want to make more money than your neighbor did when you sold? You know, then tune into this video, and that would be kind of the hook, and then, you know, going from there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How
I
about
think-
The opposite, like the two treacherous things sellers need to avoid when listing.
do you want to make an extra $25,000 by just doing 3 simple things? Then
Yes.
boom.
I want to watch it.
Awesome. Let's Karen, do we want to start going over some of the tips?
Sure. So let's go. So these were just tips that I pulled from a certain site. I'm not going to like share everything with you. You know, like I think there were 10 and I pulled 5 that really spoke to me. One was getting a pre-appraisal and a pre-inspection before listing. That way, you know what you're kind of up against. The next one, pricing matters. So doing your homework, like going to see other homes on the market so that you see what your buyers are actually looking at. And then talking about a price strategy with your broker. Hiring a qualified agent. This one seems really obvious, but a lot of people are like, oh, you know this, right? Like my cousin's cousin is a broker part-time and they said that they would do it for 1%, right? Like, I think it's really important we talk about that. I like this one that I found, be open to constructive feedback. So if buyers are consistently saying the same thing, or if brokers are consistently saying the same thing, then be open to feedback. The more open you are, the better. And this one is kind of obvious, which is stage your home.
Does anyone
Does
else have any
anybody
other-
else? Katie, go ahead. Anybody else have any other ideas?
What about some things pre-market to do to your house?
Mm-hmm.
The things that you talk about in a listing appointment. Anyone have anything? No one
Start with curb appeal.
Yeah.
Any delayed maintenance, get that done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Declutter.
Declutter.
What else?
Use social media to sell your home.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
So
for those
just
that
as-
just joined right now, what we're doing is going over some of the meat of a video. If we were doing how to prepare your home to sell for top dollar, you guys are more than welcome to yell it out and unmute and yell it out, or you can also drop it in the chat if you would like to not.
We can do like marketing trends that attract a buyer, ideal buyer, like pricing strategy, kind of like you're talking to them through social media, trying to grab their attention. Like, hey, buyers are looking at pricing. They're looking at the curb appeal. And not only that, like what are the 3 things that a buyer looks at first before even viewing your home?
Call me before you spend a nickel.
I like that.
All right, so we've got curb appeal, deferred maintenance, decluttering, social media, going over marketing trends, getting rid of your things, staging, being open to feedback, hiring a qualified agent, pricing matters, pre-inspections, pre-appraisals.
Yep.
I know
Okay,
lots
I think
of
we've
people
got,
on here do lots of listings. Does anyone have anything else? We do have a lot, but
On the pricing side, I always say never price your home in a number that ends in 9.
Amen.
all right. Cool. So I think that that's good. And I would say for each of those, as you're doing your video, basically what I would do is take each of those points and kind of put them in an order that I would like to speak about, and then add a little bit more fluff to each of those. So instead of just saying start with curb appeal, then I would say, when as soon as they get out of their car, what do buyers see? So I would start from the street and walk all the way up to the house. So that's pressure washing, landscaping, and kind of dig into each one of those a little bit more. Anyone else have any other questions or things to add?
Okay. How about the call to action? That's the last part, right? Like, it's not just interested in learning more. Do we send them to a website? Do we say, here's my seller's guide? We all have different assets, right? We have a website, we might have a PDF. Anybody do anything that's really great for lead capture? Remember, like, most of these videos we're intending to put them on YouTube, which has a very different kind of appeal and different algorithm than our Facebook and our Instagram and IGTV.
Hey, Karen.
Mm-hmm.
2 things. One, I always just put my phone number in, or text, call, or email me for more information. The other thing that I've found is hugely helpful is asking people, if you like what I'm doing, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and please leave a comment. I started doing that 3 months ago, and my subscriber rate went up from 0 subscribers to 300, which has been huge just by asking. So it's one tip that I would give you guys: put that in every one of your videos, and it will build your subscription rate dramatically.
Yeah.
Assuming you're creating content that people give a crap about.
And we can talk another time. Like, we Katie and I were chatting about, like, what is the purpose of this mastermind here, and like, what could the next stages be? And the next ones could be best practices on YouTube, everything from using TubeBuddy to asking for subscribers, things like that. So we definitely want to continue this conversation. But for now, like, Tom, I love that, right? And there's a certain way that you film that too, right? Like, you can't film, hit the button to receive notifications if you're only putting it on Facebook. So when you're filming it, you've got to strategize what your end is going to look like.
And also, Tom asks for other video ideas that you want us to see or want us to put out for you.
Very smart. Yeah. Katie, that's a good one. I don't know if you're still doing notes. Roxanne.
Yeah. Oh, well, one thing that's worked for me in this, under this topic, is just offering for a certain time limit, like a free staging consult. Like, I'll bring somebody with me. And I feel like if they think I'm bringing a professional, they are way more inclined to call rather than if I offer just myself coming by. So I've had pretty good response on that. And then I arrange with a stager, and I do pay her, and, she has a, just a fee if we go for 30 minutes. Say I offer a 30-minute consult, and maybe it costs me $75 or something. So I'm willing to do that.
Do people offer free inspections? Like, do you guys pay? I've coming from the New York City market where we don't really do inspections. Do you guys offer that? Because that could be a really great close. Carrie's raising her hand.
Can I help you? Yes. Can I do a home style nugget meal?
I like home style nugget meal. All right.
Better make that too.
Yeah,
really.
Can that be 54 of those, please? Okay, let's move on to the next video idea of downsizing in your city. As we know, there are a lot of people that could downsize right now. I don't have all of the exact numbers, but Tom goes over them quite frequently. So I guess first, let's talk about some hooks for downsizing in your city.
something about have too much space. What to
One-
do with all that space, or maybe pandemic specific, like, do you realize you have more rooms than you really need?
I struggle with this one because I do so much downsizing, and it means something different to every buyer. They think they're downsizing in maintenance when in reality they just want something newer, nicer. Price is not always the key, but they still don't want to get rid of their stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree with that. And I like Daniela just put in the chat, what about the additional cost of maintaining? Like tired of spending so much money on, you know, your yard or your whatever.
How
Clearly I
about,
don't do a ton of downsizing because I have no construction items there.
how about if we
What about new construction? I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and we have 55 plus communities going up everywhere.
Yeah,
So
for
you get
sure.
videos of new construction or even highlighting where there are, if we're talking about that, is that where we're downsizing?
Yeah,
I
and you
consider downsizing like old people moving out.
Yeah, and that's so
Well-
Jeannie just put in the chat, tired of dusting those upstairs bedrooms.
Right. Your kids aren't coming to see you anyway.
Family just downsized. We went home downsized, but a lifestyle upgrade. So we bought out of a fancy development on a lake. So I'm like, I don't know how common that is. I know people are looking kind of for more outdoor spaces. So tagline might be downsize your home, upgrade your lifestyle, or something like that.
I like that.
Which is awesome, because Christy, like Tom has said over and over again, like there's a flight to a better lifestyle.
There is,
Right.
especially with the new internet and the new work from home thing. People don't necessarily downsize so they can work from home, but they can now be closer to the people that won't visit them, but they can upgrade their lifestyle for sure. That's a really good point.
All right, so 15 tips. I think 15 is a little steep, but what tips should people know as far as downsizing?
What do you mean? Of course I did.
So I pulled, I'm reminded of that Sex in the City scene where Carrie is going through her closet and she's downsizing. And I don't know if we could like, where she's moving, right? I don't know if you could use that footage, but I thought like, that's kind of fun. Like Marie Forleo, your space, right? Like if it doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it. And also breaking down, like, what does giving away your stuff actually look like? Like, are you giving it away? Are you holding on to the sentimental value? Are you expecting other people to hold that sentimental value? Like oftentimes you have to remove yourself from the item.
And you could highlight charities like there's so many good ones out there for like women going into the workforce that need clothes, or there's a children's hospital thrift store here that I take my donations to. So you could highlight some of the charitable organizations that accept donations and what they do.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. One of the pointers was like, if you don't think your kids will appreciate, like, don't expect your kids
remember,
like
this
to
is for
appreciate
San
every little
Cristobal,
knickknack you
the one
have.
with the peninsula.
But if you've got a great art collection, like find one of those
Remember we bumped it up
organizations to
400K,
donate
and
to.
we said, okay, 6,000.
Uh-oh.
All right, hey guys, if you aren't speaking or if you're working, please mute. I'm trying to find y'all if you're talking and not fully engaged. All right. Yeah, highlighting charities, understanding your kids probably don't want it.
They
My
don't.
parents just put them in 4 big Tupperwares and brought them to me and said, you can throw this away, but here are your things. So
Maybe you could do a video interviewing like a home organizer in your area.
Yeah, that's good. I'll just tell you the greatest thing about downsizing sales, and the reason I like them is because it's usually a double sale. So you get them coming and going, and you can help them on both ends. They're not necessarily going for smaller size. So their focus may not be getting rid of all their stuff. Their focus may be upsizing their life or downsizing their maintenance. I don't really care, but it's 2 sales.
Yeah, I have a client doing that now. They want a first floor bedroom. They still want, 2,000 square feet. They don't want as much yard work. They don't mind planting some flowers and that kind of stuff. They'd like a little bit of community. But yeah, they're not going to get rid of everything. They just need a first floor bedroom so they can age in place.
So I do have an idea, and I've been looking more into this one because recently I have 2 clients that just got out of hospice. Oh, they're now, living by themselves. So I'm thinking maybe interviewing some of the different assisted living facilities in the area that may be able to help them move into that, still have their independence and stuff, and you be able to get the listing out of it. Because I've got several of those that I got a referral actually from the hospice or the assisted living place to help list the property at that time. So I thought, there's not a whole lot of videos out there, especially I'm in San Antonio. So there's not a whole lot of video that I found that are catering to this people who are trying to downsize or trying to move out of their home. And for the most part, I've done some cold calling as well. And they basically told me, I'm like, where am I going to go? So I think if we look into that angle of solving those questions for them, I think their kids or, whoever are taking care of them at the moment will be kind of like a big target for us.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I definitely think these videos would be, would be very good for seller leads. Does anyone else have any other downsizing tips or things that we should touch on before we move on to the next video?
Katie, I was going to say one thing that I think is effective too is not making the video for the downsizer, but hey, does your parent or grandparent, are they overwhelmed in their home? Is it time for them to make a move? Because I don't know any stats on it, but just from my own anecdotal family experience, it's usually the kids and grandkids pushing grandma and grandpa to sell, or mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also more likely to be on social media. So I think I had an interesting situation the other day where my marketing assistant, her 14-year-old nephew said he loves watching realtors on TikTok. He thought it was amazing. I know Glenda Baker.
I was going to say, does he know Glenda Baker?
So like really making that messaging towards kids and grandkids, because they probably are the ones that are getting that conversation going.
That's a really good idea.
I have one more comment. I just looked up other words for downsizing. And the first one that I saw was downscaling, or what was the other one? Anyway, so you might want to thesaurus, other words if you don't want to use downsize, maybe, downscale or
right. I use
right sizing.
Yeah. What do you call it?
Right sizing.
Right sizing.
I think at the end of the day, there's so many angles that you could take with this video. Like, you should consider how many of these are your evergreen content that you're going to have on just your YouTube. How many of them are you going to distribute across social media? How many are you going to put money behind? These are all great ideas, right? But Tom gave us 15, right? Like 15, that was all that he wanted us to target and really focus on. So interviewing people, obviously that's phenomenal. And if your key target is downsizing, then absolutely build a strategy around that, right? But don't necessarily, I know a lot of you are probably like, oh my God, I got to do all these different types of things. Like literally having a hook, 3 points, and a close can literally, the video's done. So let's not overthink. Katie, you want to move on to the next?
Let's move on to the next one. So the next one is going to be moving to a new city, what you should know. And I would say for this, I actually just did one like this. It's going to be less of like, this is a super Houston specific thing, and more so like, these are the things that you should know while moving to a new city, right? So finding a job, doing things like that.
Yeah, coming from a resort city like Las Vegas, that's primarily where I do my business. I've got at least 4 videos on this because everybody's answer to my first question about, hey, what do you know about Las Vegas? Well, I know the Strip, and we're almost 3 million people of awesome, not the Strip. So if you've got something that's super specific about your city, You could open it, the way I open mine is 5 things to know about Las Vegas that have nothing to do with Las Vegas Boulevard, and then take them through the outdoor life and then the amazing schools that we have here, and et cetera.
Yeah, that's a
Great.
really good idea.
Can I just ask a question while we're paused here? If you can add your city to your name so we know where you are, that would be awesome. Hit those 3 little dots and rename yourself. Just add your town.
Help me. I don't know how to do it. The 3 little dots.
So it'd be in the top right-hand corner of your picture. If you hover over your picture, you can mute yourself or click on the 3 little dots.
So I like those, that like the 5 things or whatever that you need to know about the town that don't involve like the key feature, right? Like for me, it's 5 things other than skiing that attract people to Park City.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think mine that I did in my video were visiting Houston before you actually come here, because we have really weird zoning. We just don't have zoning. Number 2 is researching neighborhoods and schools and driving around. Number 3 was like finding a place to live and starting to save, and finding a job. So those were like some of the main original points. Brian,
like
cost of living videos perform very well. Yeah, that's something that I think is huge. You can go to just, I think it's like costofliving.com or something like that. If you just Google cost of living, it'll come up. And then you can basically just read through that, and it's a boring video to shoot, but it performs very well. Any other ideas of things that people should know? Think about the questions that people ask you when they say, hey, Karen, I'm looking at moving to Park City. Insert question here.
How will I meet people? How will I meet people? What's the weather really like? What's it like to be a local? Like, I don't, this is going back to what is the hook? What is the title, right? Is it a guide from a local's perspective? Things like that. Because the last thing we want is to make it seem like another touristy kind of, and come to Park City for these, shopping and whatever, like things like that. So meeting people, activities that are like only locals know about, restaurants locals know about.
People ask me about medical facilities. I'm on the Northern Oregon coast and I'm fairly rural. So I get that question a lot.
Like hospitals and doctors and stuff?
Yeah, right.
Another good idea would be, what are the best cities or best subdivisions in that particular city to go ahead and move to? Because if they go, well, I'm looking here, well, what communities and what do each of those feature?
That's steering. Would that be steering?
So you can't do like, these are the best ones, but you can focus on like, so for Houston, like Conroe's a sub, you could be like, these are these are subdivisions in Conroe.
Yeah.
Also, if you go to niche.com, niche.com, they actually rank cities and subdivisions in your area. So I'm working on a video for this right now. These are the top, I have 10, but I don't know if I'm gonna do 10 because it's getting really long, but these are the top blank subdivisions in Houston, according to niche.com. And I'm actually starting the video saying, I can't tell you what the best ones are, but this is the website you can go to read them. And I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are on their rankings. And I go through it that way. Okay. So as long as you're pretty clear that you're reading it from a list and link to that list, I think that it's safe.
I think also talking about proximity to transportation, to airports, how the heck do people get around? And I think this is one that we don't often talk about, but you as a local absolutely should know about, is what's the development looking like in the next several years, right? Like Miami is booming with transportation and new, offerings that the average person might just see cranes in the air,
Daniela just made the comment that she moved to Chicago from Texas and made the video very personal. So if you have just recently moved to a new city, it's really great to just talk about your experience. What did you start researching? Where did you move? Why did you move there? What did you think when you got there? Niche. Adrian on the website's niche.com. So yeah, if you've recently moved, that's like the easiest video ever, because you are just talking about your experience and people love hearing about that. That's a really good performing video, high performing video.
I have an appointment coming up with the Home Builders Association to find out how I can find out about new construction in the
Nice.
area, because they just reported on it at a chamber meeting. So I met with, asked to speak with the lady. So
that's awesome.
That's a whole nother video right there.
Yeah.
Hey, Katie, one of the things too, just not if you just haven't recently moved, but if you did move and relocate to that community, if you're a realtor that lived somewhere else before, just talking about that experience, whether it was a year ago or 15 years ago, I think helps people to understand that it's a journey and that you can help them with a lot of things because you help a lot of other people do it.
For sure. Thanks for that, Tom.
And if you haven't moved in 30 years or whatever, you can interview your own clients and say, you just moved here, because we're always supposed to be calling our clients, making our phone calls. You could make that one of your questions. Since you moved here, what was the most unique thing about this area that you like or don't like?
And then it's them talking about it, not you. So that's also another. And when you're doing that, you can do a testimonial video, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But great thoughts there, Walter.
I'm trying to keep us on track, because if you don't have any ideas, and you can put it in your video, top three things that people love about our area. And you can mention you asked some people, but you're always doing research. And if people know that your research is current, then it becomes viable.
No, that's great. Someone who I think does a really good job of that is Ken Posick out of Orlando. He recently got the little handheld mic, and he goes and interviews people in the streets of Orlando. I'm like, it's really cool.
It's very much like a late night show kind of thing.
It is, yeah.
It's cool. And now you can do that, right? Before
he's in Florida, it's fine. All right. Any other ideas on things that people should know about moving to a new city?
We hit a lot.
All right. Cool.
Oh, I thought of one thing. In my city, there's a well-known builder that's there's a whole new kind of construction. It's like modular townhouses that they're building. So I think I would want to know about that. And I think it's a way that builders are, compensating for high lumber prices and, making adjustments for all the challenges that they faced.
Yeah, that would be a really cool video. And I think one of the videos that Tom had actually put in his thing was the driving driving tours of communities that you work in. So that could be a good one of showing the area around Reston where that is, and then interviewing the builder. I think that would be, especially since it's different, it would be something that people would watch.
I want to see that.
Any other ideas, guys? All right.
Keep going.
We will move on to the next video idea. So the next one is buying an investment property in your city, or really just buying an investment property, and mistakes to avoid. Where are my investors at?
So I think the hook, ironically, I have a video like this, but I didn't spin it in the way of mistakes to avoid, right? I think how we present it, whether it's you should know these 5 things versus avoid these 5 things, right? Those can literally be 2 different videos. But I wrote some notes on this. The market can be hot, but make sure you know what you want to purchase and then make a plan. So single family, condo, multifamily versus vacation home. Skimping on research, right? They make decisions too quickly, but they don't know things like what are the future plans in the area, and any permit issues, rodent issues, anything coming to town, even down to who are the neighbors, right? For some of us, we're in maybe more college towns. So are there a ton of college students around? Obviously you need to be careful about fair housing, but these are all very relevant things to know. Let's see, they try to do it on their own. So hiring somebody to help them get through it. Don't compare your investment property to those in another town or state. So understand the land values, the level of inventory, supply and demand, things like that. Think about the tenant. Think about the tenant that you're going to attract. So what are they looking for? Are they looking for walkability, crime rates, access to schools? Overpaying. How do you know that you're not overpaying, right? Again, that comes down to understanding all of the rental projections, the P&L, any kind of increase in just the cost of carrying it, right? Getting the wrong financing. that could be a pretty big one, especially obviously for those not paying cash. And then the last one, which I kind of already said, it was understanding the expenses.
Well, damn. Does anyone else have anything, or you know?
I do.
Yes.
Being sure so there's a lot of Airbnb investors right now that are buying these things. It's so important for them to be aware if they're going outside of their community to understand, can you do Airbnb? Are there zoning, or is the county currently looking at stopping that? It's happening all over the country. And
I love how everyone's just nodding their head.
Everybody's buying, there are people buying stuff. I'm going to Airbnb it. And then all of a sudden it gets ripped out from underneath them because the county says we don't want this, or the neighbor doesn't want it anymore. That would be one thing. Also talking about, and this is boring, but do you know what the cap rate is? It's sort of, you're going to buy an investment. If you don't know what the return on your investment is, it just looks pretty, or it's a cute house, or it's got nice furniture. If it doesn't return investment, then don't do that. And then also the level quality of property and the vacancy rate, and the lack of people paying the rent. You know, in a perfect world, everybody pays their rent, but if you buy in a market area where the rents are, where you have a less desirable marketplace, buying C and D property, it can affect your return on investment too. Just having that hard conversation. And the last thing I always tell my people is, if you haven't watched the movie Pacific Heights, you should watch that before you start buying investment property. And if you guys haven't watched it, it's a pretty scary movie. So,
Tom, have you done any of these videos before that you could drop into the chat?
you know what? I haven't done this one because I'm really just trying to get people here in a different market, in a different place. But it's all things that, as I'm listening to you talk, it's like I used to buy investment property 30 years ago in a B-class market, and I was a ghetto landlord at one point in my life, and I realized that I don't ever want to buy C and D property because it's a real pain. And so that's what I say. You want to make sure that you educate your clients that just because it's cheap and it has a high rental rate or high ROI doesn't mean it's the best property for you. And the last thing is, I would always encourage people to hire a property manager that's professional at what they do and factor that into the equation. Because if you can't kick somebody out, you shouldn't be buying investment property, or you should hire somebody that can. So
these are all like great. Yeah, these are all like, I mean, my mind is just like blowing right now with like how many of these are individual videos.
Jennifer commented, accounting for CapEx, vacancy, taxes, insurance, property management, also checking local landlord tenant laws, current rent, if current rent can be increased without having to put any more money into the property.
Oh, one other thing. How friendly is the state or the community? Who are they more friendly to landlords or more friendly to tenants? That's again, if it's a tenant friendly state, as a landlord, you could be so hooped if something goes sideways, like maybe a pandemic or something like that.
It's so true. So many of us, New York and California, are seeing that right now. Like, it's so tenant friendly.
I think it's also knowing your market. We're a buyer beware state, but we have investors who are putting offers in left and right in a lot of our subdivisions with HOAs that have rental caps.
Yes.
And the agents that are listing the properties don't know. So they're saying that there are no rental restrictions. And then you go under contract and find out that they're using it as an investment property and they can't. So your deals are falling apart. So it's, I think, understanding, having a buyer's agent who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, that's
being able to educate the investor.
That's huge. We're seeing it in Texas. A lot of the production builders are restricting it as well. Cool. Good deal. Anyone else? I feel like that was just a ton of information dropped that could probably be about 15 videos. Does anyone else have anything?
I have one, like location. My son is a investor in Augusta, Georgia, where so much is going on. He has bought 3 like dilapidated shacks and revived them. And he's right at the gates to the Augusta National Golf Course. He can't even get it clean fast enough for new people to come in there. So he had investigated that, he knew what the area needed. He knew, what is that on here? Because I'm going to interview him. I'm so excited. So how did, he understands where the market is for the investment property. He's short-term rental right now. He's got long-term, but that's the short-term rental market.
Yeah, I
right
think
outside
that's
the gates of Augusta National.
nice.
So-
I can imagine that would stay filled.
One other part that I think would be important to add into these videos, like my market is not a great, we're Maui. It's a great place to come and live and buy and have a home, but it's not a great investment, quote unquote. So what I've started to do now is I have my target markets where I'm referring my clients to that say, hey, I just sold a $2 million condo here, and I've referred them to a new marketplace. And it's a referral opportunity, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
if your
right.
market isn't the right place for investments, say that. Tell them the truth and say, but I have agents in the hottest investment markets. Let me help you. Let me connect you with them and tell you why I like these places. Be that expert. So
So the hook might be like reasons why Maui might not be the best investment for you,
perfect.
right? Like that, like talk them out of it. Sometimes Tom, I'm in the same boat. New York,
Right.
same boat, right? Like New York is not a great investment because of the taxes, because of XYZ, right? So we can
Or
totally
Karen,
spin this around.
in our kind of markets, it's what makes Maui and what's the secrets that make Maui a great investment property. It's you're investing in your life. You're redeploying some of your portfolio in a place that you will use, some of those kinds of things as well. So reinventing the reasons and take the money out of the equation and make it lifestyle, make it, a family, make it those things too. So a lot of ways to spin it.
I think a lot of us are in markets like that. That's awesome. Katie, can you write that?
That
Just like spin it, like it's not necessarily just investing your finances, but it's investing in your lifestyle.
Mhm. Yeah, that my point is, if this is a mastermind and we're gonna make videos, we should probably make them with the end in mind of getting the type of listings that we really, really want to get.
Yeah. No, that's huge.
Always. Yeah.
Which is why I don't make investing videos.
It's a good point.
I'm kidding, kind of.
And again, the investment videos are great because most of my clients are from out of town. They invest here and it's a double sale. I mean, they buy here, 3 to 5 years later, they sell. They're either buying a bigger one or they're done. So it's 2 for 1, really.
Yeah. No, I mean I'm kidding. We have a lot of investors, but all right, let's move on to the last video. Had a couple questions on like if we're going to talk more about like where these videos should go, equipment, things like that. Like Karen and I both really love video and talking about it. So today was really more so like just script brainstorm. But if y'all have other ideas of things that you would want to do, I would say both of us are on Instagram would probably be the best place to message us. Mine's Moving to Texas. Karen, change your thing from Park City to your IG handle. If you message us on Instagram, we can definitely do more. We were thinking about doing these every other week and doing kind of just different video topics. But last video is going to be the 30 questions in 30 days. So this was, Karen, was it Sarah out of Miami that did this? I think. And she was highlighted at Elite Retreat, but basically she did 30 seconds, 30 questions, 30 days, and answered a real estate question every day for a month. What I kind of wanted to do is just brainstorm different questions that, you get on a regular basis that you feel like you're answering all the time, that, would be good to just really quickly record yourself and, publish on, this is a more short form video, but publish on your Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, things like that. So does anyone have thoughts on 30 days of
So I've done this. And the question that got the most response actually was about, I can't remember the exact question, but it was about people who maybe they don't really want to sell their home, but they do it because the husband's job or, some financial uncertainty and, the mixed feelings about it, how sad it can be to leave your home as well as how exciting it can be to look at, another chapter and how to think about that and how to leave something of yourself in the home and you know, maybe just say goodbye to the home, have a little ceremony, something like that. So that surprisingly got a lot of response. It was an emotional one.
Yeah, going on people's emotions always is a winner. Always a winner there. Daniela did 27 days of real estate terms, A to Z. Anyone else?
I did 30. They're hard. They're hard to come up with the topics, but reality is what we just talked about. All of those are topics right there. Like the content is in the chat.
Yeah.
At least I think, right?
Jeannie had commented on appraisals. I think there's a lot you could talk about on appraisals. Waiving your appraisals. What happens if the appraisal comes in low?
What is title insurance anyway? That's a big one.
What is title insurance? Who is responsible for realtors' fees? Be careful on that one because there is stuff from NAR that you can't say as a buyer. You don't pay for a realtor, so just be careful on that. How much earnest money should I put down? What is a lease back?
What's an escalation clause?
What's an escalation clause? Good one. I saw someone post this recently, someone in the Tom Ferry ecosystem, about like that you shouldn't be looking at homes at the top of your budget, right? Because obviously we know sometimes they're going above list price, right? So sticking to a budget below your max so that you can, you know, go higher.
So I did this, the 30-day thing, and I did a lot kind of targeted to our second home market. I do a specific city, a question about the city, like, can I drive on the beach in the city? And then I showed a little map of yes, where you can drive and where you can't. Are short-term rentals allowed in this city, which most people think they're not, and they're not, but there was a couple loopholes. I was able to give some value there. That was a big one. Stuff like, do I need 20% down to purchase a home? Days on market, some of those terms, what's DOM and why is it important?
Yeah, Christy, great points there. And I think the reminder for these videos is like a lot of these things we say and do very, very, very frequently. So you think that everyone knows it, but like DOM, I've gotten many questions on that from a CMA or from a market report. What does that mean? I'm like, oh, it's days on. Well, what does that mean? Let's see, competing against cash offers in a multiple bid situation, 5 ways to make your offer strong, pre-approval versus pre-qualification, online lender versus local lender, a personal question, where is your favorite place to live? How do I choose a broker? How do I choose a mortgage banker? Should I get an inspection? How do I find a good realtor? Oh, wow. You guys are putting lots of things in here. Your favorite local restaurant, how to find an inspector. What if I can't do an inspection? How long does it take to buy a home? Bridget, great point, because in New York, you've got months. In Texas, you have days. What does a septic do? How do I sell when I have to buy? If you guys haven't seen Jason Pantana's 7 or 10 tips to sell and buy at the same time, you should just do all of those because those are easy and he literally gives them to you. Is it wise to waive the inspection clause? Thomas, beachfront versus rockfront. Explain the different contingencies within a transaction. And these are short form, right, guys? So these would be 30 to 60 seconds or less. So these would be that you would post on your Facebook or IG Reels or TikTok if you're using those platforms. What is the seller's market? Best pizza place? How soon after closing do I get the keys? Y'all, if we don't all do 30 videos, 30-second videos in 30 days after this, is my earnest money refundable? Signing versus closing.
These are great.
I feel like I'm a game show host. Where are dog parks? What are dog parks? What to be aware of if you are buying and selling in a different state and the closing timeframes. Yeah, so here in Texas, we close and fund on the same day as long as it's before 4 p.m. California, not necessarily the same thing. So I've had clients closing. I'm like, oh, you're fine. And then the realtor tells me they're not. Post foundation versus pier and beam, additional down payment addendums. What do rental managers charge? Y'all are bringing the heat today. I like it.
Yeah, really.
Katie and Karen, I have a question. I'm having a hard time doing these videos in 30 seconds because I obviously like to talk too much. Do you have any recommendations like to cut these down? Because I end up taking too much time creating them because I have to keep re-recording because I can't get it in 30 seconds.
Say less words.
Use a teleprompter. There's an app I use called the teleprompter app. You can, I mean, most of these you have to decide, am I going to go live? Am I going to record them? Am I going to edit them? Or is it just going to be like more raw, if you will? But writing the scripts, this is a great way for you to like time yourself, right? Like get the right words out, the words that matter. Don't add all the extra fluff. Hey, it's Elise. Go ahead, Katie.
Sorry, I use Big View and it actually gives you the time as you type in the words. So like that's helpful for me. And I also speak faster than the teleprompter, if you guys couldn't tell already. So that helps me as well. But Big View, BIGVU, is helpful. Bianca, use one-liners. It is true though, like someone earlier said that they did like a vocab word of the day basically type thing, as opposed to being like, here's an anecdotal story about a seller that I had, like just, hey, here's the point. There you go, move on. Also helpful to be more succinct with clients for sure. Determining listing prices. Heather had a good idea. You could do part 1, part 2. So if it is something that does deserve more to talk about. Karen's 30 days thing, she did live videos though. So hers were like 4 minutes long. So it doesn't have to be short form.
However, when we're talking about that, I think what's important to know, and this might be step 2, is with all of this content we're creating, how else are we using it, right? Like we just went over 10 different mistakes you can make as an investor. Think about all the other pieces of content that you can make. Literally each of those points can be one of these 30 days, right? Each of those points can be a quote card. We'll talk about that later, but like, don't just think you have to film it all in 60 seconds and then you're done with it.
Yeah. Do I need a professional photographer? Do I need a stager? Homes are selling in a day. Does it rain a lot? What is your favorite real estate book? You guys are bringing some good
luck, Katie. Writing these all down.
Well, it's all in the chat. I'll just export the chat and then I put it in a thing and I put it.
No. Hey guys. Okay, so here's more of a tactical question. We have all these wonderful videos. Now, where do we put them all? Obviously, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. What are some of the other major platforms that we should be looking at?
So for longer form video, I guess just breaking this down super fast because we've got like 7 minutes till the top of the hour. So think of YouTube as your Google, as your search engine, right? So if someone's moving to Coeur d'Alene, right, or moving to North Idaho, they're going to type in what is blank in blank, right? So those are the questions that you want to answer on YouTube. They can sometimes go on Facebook. The long form, like informational videos on Facebook don't always perform as well because people go on Facebook to be entertained and enjoy things, and like listening to the pros and cons of living in Irvine, California isn't something that's that interesting, right? But the longer form goes on YouTube or Facebook, right? These shorter forms, so these 30 videos in 30 days and 30 seconds or 60 seconds or whatever you want it to be, would normally be a reel on Instagram or just a post on Instagram. Both are fine, right? If like you've never done a reel and you're like, what the hell is that? Just a post on Instagram is fine. A video post, all good. You can also put those on your story. You can also put those on your Facebook story. You can also put them on Facebook, right? So shorter form, if you have TikTok, they can go on TikTok. They can also go on LinkedIn. The longer ones could go on LinkedIn too, I guess. I don't use LinkedIn a ton, but so shorter form, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and all that, right? Longer form would go on YouTube. I don't know that someone said website vlog. You can definitely update them to your website vlog if that's something that you're already doing. I don't know if videos can go in Google other than having a bio video. We've just been focusing on pictures.
If
you put videos on the
Google My Business, you can upload videos to that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can put the videos on the Google. Good.
It's bananas.
It's bananas.
Heather's saying under 15 seconds, so I guess we should check that.
Oh, sorry, Elise. Under 15 seconds on Google.
But that can literally just be like, hey, are you interested in investing in my town? Check out this link below or check out my YouTube channel. Like, that could be it, you know? And we should be filming things like that too.
It's
Because those are great bumpers and ads on YouTube as well.
15 seconds is kind of my sweet spot in front of a listing, waiting for somebody to show up or leaving, or you just sold or whatever. It's so easy, and put them on Google My Business.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool.
Are you using a hook for these 30 questions in 30 days? Are we doing that whole pre-plan?
So for the ones that I've done, I just basically had text on the video that was kind of the hook or the topic of the video, and then just talked, because like trying to do a hook and then hop into the meat in 30 seconds or less is very overwhelming. So I'm just like, hey, and go into what we're talking about, right? I may introduce myself, I may not, depending on what it is, because if they're already on my page, like they're already on my page, they can click to see more. But yeah, I wouldn't. Anyone else that's already done these have any input?
You can always do like, today's question is, right? But you don't have to say, hi, I'm Karen and I cover blah, 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 blah. Now let me tell you about the question of the day, because that's 10 seconds right there.
Well, you can too put the question on the screen and then just go from there and pick up, just so you don't spend so much time.
Yeah. Get the words on the screen. Cool. So again, thank you guys for your time. Karen and I have talked about doing more of these, getting a little bit more tactical and technical on the video front as to like equipment, things to use, microphones, lighting, cameras, just your phone, all that kind of stuff. We will probably do these like every other week. So if you guys are interested in that or have topics that you would like to cover, DM me on Instagram or DM the Karen Stone on the Instagram as well. Always happy to discuss all things video. So yeah.
Yeah. We'll send, Katie, are you going to send out the recording to everybody who registered?
I will see if that's something that I can do. Last time I did this like this and not a webinar, we had to send them out individually. So I may just upload it into Elite and Core pages. And like, if people want to watch it, they can, type thing. So I will see what is the easiest route for that, without making my team hate me. So it will be put up somewhere. TBT on location. Sorry.
All right. It's all right. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you all got some great topics. And listen, if you end up filming some of these, like tag us in them, right? Like, let's hold each other accountable. Let's see what each other is doing. You know, some of us might be from similar markets, and it would be really helpful to hear, like for me to hear what Tom is talking about, you know, down in Maui. So thank you for your cooperation, your participation. And I think we're going to, the bell is ringing outside. It's noon here in Mountain. So Katie, shall we call it a day?
Wait, can I make a shameless plug?
Of course.
Tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock Maui time, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I'm doing my virtual release party for my new video series, Condos, Castles, and Cottages. If you guys could join in, I would love it. It's a ripoff on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, where I take my Camaro and drive through neighborhoods. So it's the whole thing.
Cool. Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Cool, Tom. Well, good luck with that. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey,
Thank you.
Great job.